Know that headaches, toothaches, and pain around the neck and shoulders could mean that your rheumatoid arthritis is affecting your jaw. I'm Lena Anderson, and today we're talking about RA in your jaw and how to cope. Do you have jaw problems? How do they affect you? Do you even know that RA affects your can affect your jaw? Let me know. For some of you, obviously, this could be the first time that you've heard that RA affects your jaw. And that's kind of unfortunate. It can be years before anyone tells you. But the jaw is a joint on both sides, so you got two of them to create even more problem. Isn't that fun? Um, it's called the temporomandibular joint, or TMJ. If you have been diagnosed with TMJ, which is a condition that can cause problems and pain in the jaw, but you also have RA, this might actually be what's going on rather than TMJ. RA jaw pain can be unbelievably debilitating, even affecting your ability to eat or speak, even because speaking also means that your jaw is quite literally flapping. After a lifetime of jaw problems, I've developed some tricks to kind of work around some of these difficulties, and more on that in a little bit. Um, Let me know if you have any particular issues, and I can delve into it later in this podcast. So, the facts. Um, well, number one, RA can hit any of your joints and quite a lot of your other systems. There we go, in your body. But in terms of your jaw, but we don't really know how many people get RA in the jaw because the estimates are, well, they're a mess. There seems to be no standardized way to measure RA involvement in the jaw. And that explains why the incidence of jaw joints affected by RA ranges from, get this, 4% to 93%. So that's quite a range, and it sort of shows that nobody's really sure. Excuse me. Some articles insist that the jaws are not affected until there's significant progression of untreated RA. Yet that upper estimate of 93% seems to indicate that it is kind of happening at the same rate as other joints, but maybe because it's not one of the priority joints, that there's simply no conversation about it. And if you have joint problem, you may go to your dentist who says you have TMJ, and that means your rheumatologist never knows about it. So there's all sorts of reasons. Um, and because there's just not a lot of conversation about it, there's a focus on hands and fingers and legs and feet. So you may not be aware that that ache in your jaw that sometimes flares up could be RA. You might think it's due to grinding your teeth at night, which is also a thing, but they can make it worse when your RA is in the jaw, sort of exacerbated. So what does it feel like to have RA in your jaw? It's a kind of unique pain. It radiates into your entire face, your neck, your shoulders, as well as into your mouth, making your teeth hurt or sort of feel loose. Your jaw may also make noise, such as cracking or crunching. It's called crepitus. Can affect any joint. And it can make it really hard to go to the dentist because if you have to sit with your mouth open, that hurts. Your range of motion can be affected, and even the shape of your face. For instance, I have what I don't think there's an official name for it, but it's sort of the classic untreated juvenile arthritis bird face, where my jaw is sort of retreated a bit because as it affected my jaw, it kind of I look like a bird from the side. And I've seen other pictures of people with juvenile arthritis. Who grew up with this condition and in its untreated form, and they ended up looking like my sisters or brothers. So, and I can't open my mouth very far. So, a lot of people get actually diagnosed with TMJ and have all sorts of inventions, sometimes even surgery. But many people say, like, it doesn't matter what they do, nothing is working. And that's because you may not have TMJ, you may have RA. Do you have trouble at the dentist or trouble eating because of your jaw? Let me know. And I think it might be interesting to get a conversation going in the comments, especially for those of you who experience this problem. So, how to cope? Now, I have included a bunch of tips in the blog post that's linked in the post for this video, or if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description box. But I'm going to touch on some of them here live, and you can see more if you'd like in the post. Step one, as with so many other things about RA, is treat your disease. Getting your RA under control makes things a lot better. Not only in your jaw, but all over. And for me, if you ask me what are your favorite things about having your RA under control, well, all of them. But one of them is like I can eat crunchy things again. I couldn't for a long time because my jaw just couldn't handle it. So I can eat crunchy foods. I can eat large salads. I can tolerate a 40-minute dental appointment. And I just couldn't before. And so that's a huge difference. And the only thing that changed was actually getting my RA under control. So highly recommend. Do you have tips for dealing with jaw pain? Drop them in the comments. We'll see if we have the same or if some of them are different. So when your jaw acts up, and it may not be all the time, but here are some of the things that help me. Number one, other than treating your RA, is eat soft food. Things like soups, fish, mashed potatoes, yogurt, applesauce, oatmeal, ice cream, because, medicinal, right? And if opening your mouth to take a bite hurts, cut the food into smaller pieces and either eat it with a fork, or if you're eating with a spoon, use one that's smaller than the spoon you normally use. For instance, I find it a lot easier to use a teaspoon rather than a tablespoon. It means you don't have to open your mouth quite as wide as you would with a tablespoon. You may also want to get a soup spoon. Soup spoons is actually this thing that I think most people don't bother to get. You get the big spoon and the small spoon, and off you go, right? Soup spoons are somewhere in between those two, and they're kind of rounder, so I think you can have more in them. But soup spoon might also be a good idea. Another tip: chew with your front teeth. When you chew and you use your molars, it puts a lot more pressure on the jaw joints and the surrounding muscles. But if you actually chew with your front teeth, like these, it feels kind of odd, but it's less painful because the pressure happens out here rather than in your jaw. So it kind of shifts that pressure when you're chewing. Moist heat may also be a good idea. This is a tip I got from a dentist I had years ago. That way, if your jaw is really sore, putting moist heat, not just any heat, moist heat, can feel wonderful. Bring out a washcloth or a small towel in very hot water, like not boiling because you don't want to burn on top of everything else, but warm enough that it can go in the skin, but also warm enough that it's warm. And then put it on your jaw or your cheeks, and that can feel absolutely wonderful. A little bit of relief there. Hey, Susie. Susie is out there. Hello. Thank you so much for watching. I know 2:30 in the afternoon is kind of an odd time, but it works for me. So, actually, let me know, are there other times during the day that would work better for you? Any of you who are watching, even if you watch after I was live, because I can shift, not too much because I have a nap coming, but would like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, like over lunchtime, work better? I'd love to hear it. Last tip of this broadcast is treat your shoulders. My TMJ got really bad when I developed fibromyalgia about 20 years ago. And I ended up at my dentist more times than I can count, thinking I had an infected tooth, like one of the molars, and I never did. Um, so turns out, well, it took a lot of this was like in the early days of the internet, so it took a lot of searching. In the time we did Google wasn't there. It wasn't a thing. It took a lot of searching until I found a note somewhere on a forum buried deep that said that TMJ symptoms can come from our shoulders. Now, often it does come from your jaw, but I started treating my shoulders, which are very affected by fibromyalgia. And I put heat and ice and topical anti-inflammatories and the odd trigger point injection in one of my shoulder muscles. And my jaws felt better because it's all connected. Hang on, I need a pen. Because this whole muscle, that one, that's shoulder, jaw, whatever, it's all interconnected. And if you treat one, sometimes it can get easier in the other area. So there's loads more tips in the link in the description box. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything particular you want me to address in one of these lives. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next.